First of all, thank you very much for this interview, for hosting us in your home here in Nicosia. Mr. Nami, the official position of the Turkish Cypriot side now is, let's say, beyond the framework that has been established by the UN. It's about the federal solution. It's no longer on the table, from what I understand. How possible is to open again a new round of negotiations?
It's very difficult. This common base of trying to establish a bizonal, bicommunal federation was agreed by the two sides initially and later adopted by the United Nations. So it was not imposed on us by the United Nations. And until now, it was the only agreed based. But we had two very traumatic turning points in the history of negotiations. One was in 2004, the Annan Plan, and the rejection of that plan by the Greek Cypriot side. And then the important effort we made in Crans Mοντανά around the Cyprus conference, which was convened for the first time after the establishment of the Republic of Cyprus, which was a very historic event, and where the Greek Cypriot leader left the negotiating table. And in the report of the Secretary General Guterres, he said the solution was on the table. And what was lacking to cross the finishing line was political will. And he was pointing to the Greek Cypriot leader when he was saying that. So the Turkish side came to the conclusion, after all these years of effort and two big events, that the efforts to find a federal solution is exhausted. And we don't have a serious counterpart on the Greek Cypriot side. Therefore, we have to start talking about new things. And by that they mean a two-state solution. Now, clearly this is unacceptable for the Greek Cypriot leadership, and we are stuck, and we are where we are. And in the history of negotiations, I don't think we have ever experienced such a stalemate. So looking ahead, we have to ask, why are we here? What can be done about it? I believe there are ways to overcome, and there is a path to get the two leaders back to the negotiating table. But that way cannot be a repetition of the past efforts.
How would be that?
Okay, so the Greek Cypriot leader is saying, let's resume negotiations from where we left off in Crans Mοντανά. Although he is making some qualifications to that also, for the sake of simplicity, let's say he is true to all the agreements we reached until Crans Mοντανά, and he's saying, let's go back to the negotiating table and finish the work. The Turkish side is saying, we tried that. We were in Crans Mοντανά and you left. How can we trust you that this time you mean business? So I think this question has to be taken very seriously. And if the Greek Cypriot side comes forward with a concrete proposal that this time it is guaranteed to be different, that it is not going to be another failed effort, it is not going to be another big disappointment, then a diplomatic way of finding a face-saving formula to allow the two sides to step back from their current positions and come back to the negotiating table can be found.
But the core of the solution now, it's very different, it's different for the two sides. I mean, one side wants a federal solution, the other side, the two-state solution. How can you put this together?
As I have tried to indicate, the Turkish side's position did not come out of thin air. It was a reaction to the disappointments of the past. So I believe, and this is my personal opinion after being engaged in Cyprus talks for 25 years, is that if a UN and the Greek Cypriot side comes forward with a concrete proposal that would be convincing to the Turkish side that this time it is not going to be another round of years of negotiation. When we sit, we will only spend a reasonable time, maybe a few months. And at the end of that time, we will have a concrete decision, either federation or something else. If we have such an approach, Turkish side will have a good reason to give the federal solution another chance, okay? But they want to be sure that once they give this one final chance, we either have the federation or we go for a velvet divorce, for example.
With your experience, 25 years in the talks between the two communities, what do you think was and is the most difficult part of the negotiation? Some diplomats say that in these cases the best solution could be some that both parts are a bit unhappy. Do you agree with such approach?
Yes, because Cypriot case is not like the German case, where East Germans and West Germans were really passionate about reuniting their country. It's not like that. Many opinion polls have been conducted. The first choice of vast majority of Greek Cypriot voter is a unitary state where the majority of the population, which is the Greek Cypriot community, controls the state, and Turkish Cypriots are given minority rights, and they are a tolerated minority. This is their ideal solution. For the Turkish Cypriots, for vast majority, it's a two-state solution. So the federal solution is a compromise solution for both sides, because Greek Cypriots cannot achieve their goal of unitary state with Greek Cypriot majority ruling everything, and Turks cannot attain a two-state solution. So
it's a compromise.
So the federal solution is the compromise formula. And this is a well-accepted reality. The problem is we are unable to make a decision to establish that federation because in 2004, when we approached it very much, the Greek Cypriot side became a member of the European Union, and they said, we don't need to agree to a compromise. We are now a member of EU. We can force the Turks to accept things which are more favorable to Greek Cypriots. So that's why they said no. And in Crан Mondana, the Greek Cypriot leader left the negotiating table because there was no cost of leaving the negotiating table. He got the concessions he wanted, he put them in his pocket, and he said goodbye, and said, we can come back to the negotiating table when you are ready to give me more. So the ultimate problem is, for the vast majority of the Greek Cypriot voters, there is no consequence of rejecting this compromise federal solution or leaving the negotiating table. So, and Turkish side is now fed up with this. We are paying a big price for a non-solution because the North Cyprus is isolated under embargoes, not recognized by anybody. We don't enjoy the benefits of being a member of the European Union, so on and so forth. So we need a solution to survive as a community. But such a need does not exist for the Greek Cypriot side. So as long as the dynamics are like this, the well-established belief now is that no matter how many times we sit to establish a federation, ultimately the Greek Cypriot voters will say, thank you very much, but I want more. And we don't want to find ourselves in this vicious circle anymore. So it is primarily the responsibility of the Greek Cypriot leader to convince his counterpart, no, don't worry, we understand why you switched to this radical position, but I have a plan. We can sit, talk only for a limited time, and in the end, we will make a decision one way or the other. We will decide either to get married or to get divorced. Don't worry, I'm not going to keep you in a limbo. And if this is supported by the UN as well, I think Turkish side will have to rethink their current position and give it another chance.
I heard you in the Delphi Forum. Okay. You and Mr. Menelaou from the Greek Cypriot side talk about circles that inside the island and outside the island that could undermine the prospect of a solution. Would you like to be more specific? I mean, when we talk about circles, what kind of circles? Maybe in such point, people who is going to watch our program would like to know what about are we talking?
Internally, there are those on both sides of the island who profit from the status quo. There are also very nationalistic elements who, not out of financial gains, but because of hardline nationalistic feelings, don't want a new partnership on the island. And these people are constantly trying to undermine a solution. Outside, there are countries who would like to see a solution, but there are also countries who are very happy to see Cyprus divided and continue to be a source of conflict, not only between two Cypriot communities, but also between Turkey and Greece, and Turkey and the European Union, and Turkey and United States. The first name that comes to mind is Russia. Russia is extremely happy that the Turks and Greeks are still struggling and quarreling over the Cyprus issue, which is always a constant source of discontent within NATO and within the Western Alliance. It has huge impacts ranging from economic cooperation to cooperation on energy and security. So we have witnessed this throughout the years. There have been books written about this. This is a reality. But so Cypriots, both Turks and Greeks, have to rise above this. And we have to show some new initiative that say enough is enough. This is not good for either of the communities. We are not doing a service to our children by keeping Cyprus divided in a form like this. We have to normalize our relationship. It doesn't mean we have to get married, but it means that the status quo must end. And when you look at the leaders' agreements in the past, almost all of them start with this sentence: status quo is unacceptable. So now we have to deliver on this. Status quo is unacceptable. This is true. Okay? It doesn't mean it has to be a federation. It doesn't mean it has to be a two-state solution. It means it has to be one or the other. But the current situation must end. So we have to act like adults, responsible people, and give it a final try, one final push, understanding that this will be like I said, a final push.
You mentioned it about energy, and I want to ask you about energy. What will be the role of energy? And when I'm talking about energy, I mean what happened all around Cyprus now in finding a solution based on common interest.
Energy issue involves billions of dollars when you want to get it out, store it, refine it, transfer it, sell it. Therefore, it is not like any other confidence-building measures which the parties have engaged in previously. And it requires that we take each other as a counterpart under international law. The current status quo makes that impossible. Impossible. So any kind of energy cooperation necessitates that we solve the Cyprus problem and we give a legal status to each other so that we can engage in these big contractual agreements, not only with each other, but with these big multinational companies. I have heard many suggestions that even without a solution, we can find a way. I don't subscribe to those thoughts. I believe solving the Cyprus problem is a precondition of benefiting from the energy potential that Cyprus can offer to its own people, but also to the region. Time is not on our side. The region is changing rapidly. The energy needs are changing. So if you want to use the energy issue for the benefit of a solution, we have to do it now. There is huge interest, especially from the European Union and the United States, to create alternative energy routes for Europe, considering what Russia is doing. So it can be a catalyst for change. However, energy, when you look around the world, unfortunately has been a source of conflict. So if we are not clever about how we approach the energy issue, it can also be a source of further enmity and even further conflict. And we have seen some clues towards that when the Turkish Navy confronted the French Navy off the shores of Cyprus, when French companies were trying to drill this. So this was unimaginable to happen, but it happened. So we should not underestimate neither the positive potential nor the negative potential of the energy issue.
Mr. Nami, I just returned from Ochostos and Famagusta. It is a couple of years that the closed cities opened, and I could say that it was my first time in Famagusta, and it seemed to me that the city was slowly being taken over the Turkish Cypriot authorities. And I saw an image that I didn't like it. With a friend, we call it dark tourism. Too many tourists getting around with their bicycles, the beach full of people. And Greek Cypriots protest that the city should have been returned to its owners. Would you like to comment on it?
Turkish Cypriots agreed to hand it over not to the UN, but to the Greek Cypriots in 2004, when we said yes to the Annan plan. And it was the no vote of the Greek Cypriot voters that made that impossible to do. Listen, territorial adjustment is one of the 6 main headings of our efforts to find a comprehensive settlement. Therefore, any territorial adjustment has to take place within the context of a comprehensive settlement. I share your sentiment. I become very sad when I see that closed city in ruins. I don't appreciate the fact that people visit it like a tourist destination. But we are stuck with that reality, and there are terrible consequences of the current division on my daily life as well. So I understand the sentiments of the refugees from close city of Varosha, but I also understand the sentiments of the Turkish Cypriots who want an end to the Cyprus issue so that their children can be proper EU citizens, so that we can also enjoy the benefits of belonging to the rest of the world. And if I have to use that territorial adjustment issue to motivate the Greek Cypriot voters to vote in favor of a federal solution, then we have to do it. There could be ways in which UN could also facilitate something more positive, a more positive agenda regarding the closed city of Varosha. Because the relevant Security Council resolution says the city the buildings should be returned to their original owners under UN supervision and control. So UN could have a constructive conversation with the Turkish side and say, this does not mean that you need to return the territory to the Greek Cypriot side. This can remain under your territorial control. It doesn't mean that United Nations is going to establish a police force, a court, a municipality there. You will have to provide all these services, but just allow these people to repossess and re-inhabit these buildings under your supervision with some UN observation. So if we have such a constructive dialogue, and maybe coupled with some other measures which would be helpful for the Turkish side, for example, direct flights to Ercan airport or opening the Famagusta port for direct trade with the rest of the Europe, these could be finalized. But if you tell the Turkish side, just give all the territory back to United Nations so that Greek Cypriots can move in, Turkish side will not do it. We were hoping to find a comprehensive settlement under which that area would be returned to the Greek Cypriot side. But now that that seems to be a very long-term project, maybe a more positive agenda can be created around Varosha, a little bit different from what the Greek Cypriot leadership has in mind, but nevertheless something that can be digestible to both sides.
Mm-hmm.